this view to the laptop when everybody's ready. Just remind me. Leslie will help with the presentations. Megan's still signing people in.
You're on TV.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd just like to kind of welcome everybody here to this kind of new joint public hearing that we're going to hold tonight in regard to proposed tax increases. One of the things that I'm going to start off just kind of letting everybody know, our speaker system today kind of had an issue, so we're going to kind of try to speak as loud as we can for you. And when you come up to testify, I just kind of recommend you trying to speak as loud as you possibly can. Also, we are streaming it. It's on TV, so try to speak into the mics, everything like that, as we try to get through this thing for the first time. You know, with this, you know, I'm gonna tell you, I'm Dennis Meyer. I'm the Lancaster County Budget and Fiscal Director. Tonight, I'm just kind of here to kind of moderate the meeting. So, we will have 4 presentations tonight: City of Hickman, Raymond Central Public Schools, the Waverly Public School District, and Southeast Community College. Now, everybody, I've seen a lot of people walking around with their pink postcards. The purpose of this joint hearing is we will have presentations by the political subdivisions seeking to increase their property tax requests by more than the allowable growth, and the effect of such requests on their respective budgets. One thing that I will mention is an open meeting announcement. We do have a copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act. It's posted on the back of the, or on the wall at the back of the room. If you didn't get an agenda, agendas are also available outside the chambers. The agenda is really set up for presentations and then public comment. So that's really what we're dealing with here tonight. As I mentioned, the order that we will go in is City of Hickman, Raymond Central Public Schools, Waverly Public Schools, and Southeast Community College. We will go through all 4 of the presentations, and then after that, we will start the testimony. We have, how about just a show of hands on who's looking to actually testify tonight? I think we've got about 24, 25 of you. Okay, so when we get started here, we'll have the clerk kind of announce your name, and then you can come up. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes. Our clerk's office will give you kind of the 1-minute warning. So that's how we'll get kind of started from there. I guess one of the last things I'll mention is when we're testifying tonight, I just want to remind you, the political subdivisions are here to listen. This is not going to become a question and answer session. We do not have governing bodies here, so we will collect the information. The information will be taken back to the governing bodies, and then decisions can be made from there. So I just wanted to throw that out. From there, I think we will open the public hearing, and I'll ask the county clerk to call the first item.
If for some reason you signed into and you decided now that you do not want to testify, just indicate that you've changed your mind, you don't wish to testify, and I'll go on to the next person, okay? Because sometimes people do change their mind, so I just want to throw that out here. Everybody who's signed in will be on this list. I'll read the names, but if your intent was not to testify, you can just say pass or whatever. So I just want to throw that out there.
Okay. So
I apologize for the 3 phone calls I made to your office and left the messages.
okay, no problem. So we'll start with Kelly from the City of Hickman. It's all yours.
All right, Kelly Elke, City Administrator for the City of Hickman. And I'll wait till that slide pulls up. So in Hickman, our 2022 assessed valuation for for this year was $265,334,382, which is about a 13% growth over the assessed valuation from the prior year. Because of that growth, many of you know that Hickman's one of the fastest growing communities in Lancaster County. So due to that growth, we are doing a property tax request increase of 13% and also increasing our operating budget by 13%. The tax rate, if the prior tax request was at the current valuation, would have been at 0.530324 to equivalent for the same assessed value of $100. Next slide, please. Thankful that we're all here tonight balancing our relationships together and working for our property tax transparency with all of our budgets that are put together. So the city utilizes their property tax revenue in addition to other revenue sources for our day-to-day operations, routine maintenance, equipment purchases, bond and loan payments, law enforcement, and capital improvement projects. The additional revenue generated by our proposed increase this year is being budgeted towards infrastructure improvements to expand the capacities of the City of Hickman's municipal water and our wastewater facilities. I wanted to share with you some levy history. So of the last 10 years, our population in 2010 was about 1,500, and currently we are at 2,607 persons for population. And as you can see over the last 10 years, the county valuation has gone up because of all the additional buildings and homes from people and families that have been building in Hickman. So that county valuation change has been anywhere, from 5% all the way up to 17.6%, and it changes every year with that. However, our tax rate that the City of Hickman proposes has not changed, and that's that far column on the right, because you can see even over some years it was a decrease, but we have never increased it in the last 10 years. Thank you.
All right, we will now move to Lynn with the Raymond Central Public Schools.
All right, good evening. My name is Lynn Johnson, and I'm the superintendent of Raymond Central Public Schools. Can you hear me in back? Am I loud enough? Raise my voice. Okay, will do. All right, so again, Lynn Johnson, Raymond Central Public Schools Superintendent. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I wanted to express to everybody here and our patrons at home that Raymond Central Public Schools does have, in addition to this new meeting that we're having at the county level, we do have a local level budget hearing, which we had on September 14th, last Wednesday. And at the same time, we also do our tax request hearing, just in keeping with what we've our normal procedures that have happened over the course of all these years. So that information is probably a little bit more detailed than what I'm going to share tonight. Glad to share that with anybody who would like to have it. I have my business cards here. Just get in touch with me after the board meeting, after this meeting, and would love to meet with you individually if that is your desire. But again, just to kind of highlight what's happening at Raymond Central Public Schools, the dollar amount of our proposed tax request is $9,643,645, as compared to last year. Our tax request was $9,187,579. The total assessed value of property differs from last year's in the Raymond Central Public Schools District by 5%. It went from about $812 million worth of valuation to $854 million of valuation, approximately 5% increase. The tax rate, which would levy the same amount of property taxes as last year when multiplied by the new assessed value of property, would be about $1.075 per $100 of assessed value. The Raymond Central Public Schools proposes to adopt a property tax request that will cause its tax rate to be $1.128779, which is slightly lower than the tax levy was last year. Last fiscal year, the tax levy was $1.131183, so a reduction of about 0.2% in levying. But due to the increased valuation, that does amount to an increased flow of tax receipts, right? Based on the proposed property tax request and changes in other revenue, the total operating budget of Raymond Central Public Schools will exceed last year's budget by 10%. But I want to point out to you, the only category, levying category in which that is increased from last year is the building fund. And the reason it's increased in the building fund is because of the hailstorm that we had in June resulted in an insurance payment of over $700,000 and necessary repairs to our fiscal structures. And so that totally inflates the budget as compared to last year. So in essence, what I'm saying to you is the major increase in our budget is in the general fund. Okay, not the bond fund as compared to last year, or the building fund, although it is the building fund which creates what looks like a huge 10% budget increase. A little bit misleading in my opinion. So you might ask, why do we need to have an increase in our general fund budget? And I think anybody who's living in today's economy kind of knows what that's about. We had a 6% increase in health premiums. 84% of our budget is in human resources, people. So 84% of our budget's in people, and our people costs have gone up. And frankly, when you're in our business, and probably many of your businesses, we are about trying to attract and retain and keep the best teachers and employees that we can. And so we're going to have to be competitive in the job market to get those employees and to keep them. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Much of our general fund budget increase is due to the 8 to 9% inflationary rate, increased cost of fuel, health premiums, as I suggested to you. Special ed costs are going to go up for us next year. And then again, we also want to keep our board's budgeting goal is to keep 4%, or excuse me, to keep 4 months worth of operating expenses in our cash reserves. And we need that, obviously, you know how you budget yourselves. We need to, our goal is to keep anywhere from 4 to 6 months of operating expenses in cash reserves. This budget will have us at 4 months. So, and then our other goal in budgeting is to keep our bond balance equivalent to 1 month, 1 year ahead in bond payments. And so this budget will achieve that as well. I think that the only thing I would like to tell you after that is make sure that if you want more information, please feel free to ask that of me. And we'd love to see you at our local hearings because there is more information there and I can share that with you individually. Thank you.
All right, Lynn, thanks. Now we will go to the Waverly Public School District with Corey.
Okay, well, thanks, Dennis. I appreciate being here tonight. My name's Corey Worrell. I'm the superintendent of District 145 Waverly, and I appreciate the chance tonight to go over our budget and to give you information. So our dollar amount of proposed tax requests this year is $25,391,712. That is an increase from last year. The total assessed value of our property differs from last year. It went up 4.17% from last year. We were a little over $2 billion as a total district. And we are a district made up of 4 different counties, Cass, Otoe, Sarpy, and Lancaster. And we have around 300 square miles that make up our district. And so last year we were a little over $2 billion in assessed value. This year we're $2.111 billion. And that makes up the 4.17% in an increase of assessed valuation. The tax rate, which would levy the same amount of property taxes as last year, when multiplied by the new total assessed value of property tax, would be $1.12 or $1.123. So if we put last year's budget on this year's value, we'd be $1.12 per $100 of assessed value. And this year we are proposing to have a total tax levy of $1.16 or $1.1627 per $100 of assessed valuation. We are at $1.05, which is roughly $1.02 with our general fund dollars and 3 cents with our building fund. And then we have roughly about 13 cents for debt that we have on bond issues and QC puffs, okay, which have been used for building projects that we've had in the past, all right? And then based on the proposed property tax requests and changes in other revenue, the total operating budget of our district this year will exceed last year's by 3%, all right? And that's why we're here tonight. And I would just ask if any of you ever have questions on our budget, to come and to ask us, to call us. Our budget hearing, our tax asking is this Monday, September 26th, starting at 6:30 with our budget hearing. Our tax asking is at 6:40. Just give you some ideas about why we are asking for more money this year. Really, it's increase in staff cost. So when you think about a lot of what Lynn stated over here, we're in the same boat. We are out in the job market like everybody else right now, and this year we've made some changes. We tried to make a correction with our classified staff, or what you would call our non-certificated staff, those that don't have a teaching certificate. So for our paras, classified paraprofessionals, our food service, our custodians, our maintenance, we have worked to put them, tried to catch them up, even in comparison with other school districts, and so that does cost extra money. We are in competition even with, I hate to say this, fast food companies right now, restaurants like that. Right now, those people are making more than some of our people are in our buildings, but also certified salaries, administrative salaries. We have increases in those. Bus drivers, we're struggling right now to find bus drivers. Lynn mentioned insurance. That went up 6% this year for health insurance. And Waverly is a growing district. We have mainly Eagle and Waverly in our district, and we roughly are growing 1.5% to 2%. That varies every year. We have a little over 2,150 students. And we are on the grow, so to speak. There are future plans for potential growth in Eagle and in Waverly. So with that growth, we're going to have to add staff and potential developments with buildings as well, and that'll be something we'll have to look at in the future. But with additional kids means additional support, and that's where a lot of our budget goes to. Our general fund is, like Lynn said, about 84%, 85% of our overall budget is staffing, okay? Just this past year, to give you kind of an idea of where we're at our high school, we added a counselor. We are at roughly 685 students at our high school. We had 2 counselors working with 685 kids, and that we needed to give them support. That was too many kids with too few counselors. The year before, we had 1 counselor at our middle school with over 525 kids. And so 2 years ago, we were able to add a second counselor at our middle school. But our high school, we also last year added a couple extra teachers. The middle school, we added an additional teacher as well because we're growing. Our class sizes are large right now at our secondary level, and we're trying to be able to take that class size level down, and we can do that only with adding staff. And so that's part of where we are adding dollars to our budget. Additional dollars have been added for coaching in sports such as strength and conditioning, wrestling, baseball here recently. And then we've seen inflation with fuel. Even though fuel here recently seems like it's been kind of leveling off, we've seen the last few years fuel costs go up. We have eight morning routes in our district. We have 12 in the afternoon. And we have a vast district. Like I said earlier, we have over 300 square miles. And then we have a number of vans driving kids home, bringing them to school as well, and of course activities. And then, energy costs have gone up as well. And so those have all played into our inflation in our district as well. And of course, curriculum and instruction purchases. HVAC in our buildings at our high school last year. We had to put in a new boiler system that was $160,000. Just giving you that as an example of what costs are in school districts now to fix systems such as an HVAC boiler system that goes down. And so those are the things that districts have to plan for now and budget for. And so one of the things we just have to look out for in our district, and we have budgeted for this, is in our building fund, is to try to keep track how to take care of our buildings as best as we can on the budget that we have. We don't have a lot of money budgeted in our building fund because we have general fund that's $1.02, which is close to the $1.05, but we need that for personnel. And so one thing just within the documents that we have left here in our packet, the last 2 pages we do have a mistake with our qualified capital purpose undertaking fund. There's the last 2 pages on the QC-PUF, it's incorrect, and our QC-PUF fund should be broken down differently, but it doesn't impact our levies and it doesn't impact the tax asking, but I do want you to be aware of that, and we will get that corrected in the paper correctly. So, but that's all I have, Dennis.
Okay, thanks, Corey. Now I'll turn it over to Amy.
Good evening. I'm Amy Jorgens. I'm the Vice President of Administrative Services for Southeast Community College. And joining me tonight is the SCC Chairman, Mr. Neil Stenberg, and the Vice Chair, Arlen Ermacher. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of a brief overview of Southeast Community College up front. SCC has 3 main campuses, and we have 6 learning centers. The 3 main campuses are in Lincoln, Milford, and Beatrice, and they all have their individual expertise area of focus. SEC serves a 15-county area, so the 15 counties in southeast Nebraska, and it's about a 500,000 person population. SCC serves approximately 14,000 credit students and 9,000 non-credit students each year. The average age is about 22. Unlike some other higher ed institutions, we actually seen an enrollment increase from fall of 20 to fall of 21. That was about a 1.2% enrollment increase. And some of our areas that we provide are like dual credit, academic transfer, and career and technical focuses. So if you have an electrician, we have a new focus of concrete. So a lot of those positions that you use in your daily lives to fix your air conditioner, they're coming from our college, likely. We're providing a skilled workforce for Southeast Nebraska and all of Nebraska. We have 60 career and technical programs. We produce 7,000 graduates every 5 years, and you can see some of the areas of focus that our graduates are coming from, such as transportation and healthcare. It's really important. 91% of our graduates stay in Nebraska and add to the economy. A little bit of our budget development, of our overview of our budget. How are we funded? We have 3 sources of revenue. We have state aid, we have property taxes, and we have tuition. SEC's primary expenditures are the same as my others here. It's employee salaries and benefits, operating costs, and equipment. Like the others, our salary and benefits are about 81% of our total general fund budget. For the 4th consecutive year, SCC has held their general fund and their capital improvement fund levy consistent. The general fund is 7.37 cents per $100 evaluation, and the capital improvement fund is 2 cents per $100 evaluation. Statutorily, SCC can levy up to 11.25 cents, and we are currently 1.88 cents below our levy authority. In relation to Nebraska Revised Statute 77-1633, the college's allowable growth is 0.035337616, and we're about $500,000 over that allowable growth. The total 22-23 property tax request is $64,595,270. And that includes the following separate funds that we have levy authority on. The general fund, the 2023 property tax request for the general fund is $50,807,592. The capital improvement fund, the 2022-2023 property tax request for the capital improvement fund is $13,787,678. The total assessed value of property differs from last year's total assessed value by 4.43%. And that represents the 15 county area. As you can see, the bar chart at the bottom, we can levy in 15 counties, and each county has a significantly different assessed valuation. Lancaster County is in the green, and they account for about 50% of our property valuation. So you can see the counties that we levy in and their corresponding assessed valuation and how that compares to a whole. The change in real growth from the previous year by county is listed there. If we would look at this individually, the ones in the light blue is where we exceed the growth. The ones in the dark blue is where we don't exceed the growth. But according to this statute, we're reporting as an aggregate. So we're reporting as the 15 county in total. The tax rate, which would levy the same amount of property taxes as last year, when multiplied by the new total assessed value of property, would be 8.9728 cents per $100 of assessed value. That includes the following separate levies. The general fund levy rate, which would levy the same amount of property taxes as last year, when multiplied by the total new assessed value of property, would be 7.0576 cents per 100 of assessed value. The capital improvement fund levy, which would levy the same amount of property taxes as last year, when multiplied by the new total assessed value of property, would be 1.9152 cents per 100 assessed value. The Southeast Community College area proposes to adopt a property tax request that will cause its tax rate to be 9.37 cents per $100 of assessed value. The general fund, and that 9.37 is broken down into two funds. Once again, the general fund levy, the Southeast Community College area proposes to adopt a general fund property tax request that will cause its tax rate to be 7.3 cents per $100 of assessed value. Capital Improvement Fund levy, the Southeast Community College area proposes to adopt a Capital Improvement Fund levy property tax request that will cause its tax rate to be 2.00 cents per $100 of assessed value. Based on the proposed property tax request and changes in other revenue, the total operating budget, which includes the general fund and the capital improvement fund budget of Southeast Community College, will exceed last year's by 3.99%. Based on the proposed property tax request and changes in other revenue, the general fund of Southeast Community College will exceed last year's by 3.6%. Based on the proposed property tax request and changes in other revenue, the capital improvement fund budget of Southeast Community College will exceed last year's by 5.03%. And then to obtain more information regarding the increase in property tax request, citizens may contact Stu Ostertoon or myself, and I do have our business cards. And I did want to mention that the board will hold the budget hearing and the tax levy hearing next Tuesday in Milford, Nebraska at 3 o'clock.
All right, thanks, Amy. We will now move on to the public testimony side. One reminder that I want to just throw out to you, so I don't forget. I just want to remind everybody that because maybe you're hearing some things, maybe not hearing other things, this will be rebroadcasted on Link TV, YouTube, Roku, and Apple. Now, Don't ask me about all of those, how you get to them, but they'll be out there somewhere, okay? So anyway, you'll be able to go back, check these out. If you feel like you missed anything, you will be able to go out there and hear it again. So I will turn it over to the county clerk, and we can call our first testifier.
Okay. Just want to reiterate, if you signed the sign-up sheet that was outside the door and did not intend to testify, and I call your name, just go ahead and say pass or decline or no, that you've changed, just let us know that you changed your mind. If you haven't signed up and still want to, Megan's standing outside the door. You have time to go ahead and get registered to testify. And I will apologize in advance if I mispronounce or misread anybody's name. Please forgive me. I'm going to do my best here. Okay. Timing, we talked about the timing,
Yes.
right? So Leslie's going to set the timer. She will give you a 1-minute warning when 1 minute remains for you to testify to wrap up any comments. Okay, first person on the sign-in sheet, Tony Arnold.
How are you guys doing? Good. Great job. Everything looked like it was good detail. I'm Tony Arnold, Cass County. So some of the things I'm going to say are going to reflect on the bill I saw for Cass County, namely Southeast Community College, and there were 2 other items on there as well. So I get it. Everything's higher now. You know, gas is higher, food's higher. Cost of goods is 10% year over year. You're seeing building costs. We're talking about building. It's 30% higher than it was in 2020. Just kind of feel maybe it's a bad time to think about building right now. I understand that. I also understand education. My father was a teacher in public school system. My mother was a teacher in the community college system. I'm actually the Chief Learning and Development Officer for $11 billion software company. I'm personally responsible for training 450,000 employees globally in 40 plus countries with 7 languages. I also train about 1.5 million customers as well on certifications. And so I'm very aware of the pain and agony of training and education. High cost, and it's it's a thankless profession, right? I mean, you don't get a lot back. So I do understand that. However, when I recently received my county reassessment that went up 15% just 2 months ago, and then I received ours in Cass County were red, not pink. Ours, I saw yet another 10% added for all these extra things we want to add now. You can understand that I am not in favor of any of these increased taxes. A 25% increase in a 1-year period seems overly excessive in a time where, as a community as a whole, we're 4.5% above a normalized unemployment rate of 4% in the industry. 1 minute remaining. Okay, great. So I think what I would tell my comment here would be that really, I think across the education, you need to look at other items. Virtualization has become a major movement, microcreditization across the industry. Everybody has tightened their budget. I lost 10% of my budget last year, and let's just say, I probably have the same problems you do. So, I think that needs to be explored versus let's build more real estate. Yes, it may require staff cuts, but I'm making the same amount I was as of 2019. And yet my property taxes are going up, all my cost of goods are going up, and obviously you guys are asking for more money. I don't have it. I think the pockets are dry at this point. The state needs to get responsible fiscally and start cutting just like everybody else is. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next testifier, James Lintel.
Evening. Mine's a little bit of a different statement, I guess. I live in Ashland, and when I got this pink card, I almost made use of the emergency 911 services. 44% increase in my tax, not the value, the taxes. It's over $2,000. 44%. That's the proposal. I called one of the recommended phone numbers. Granted, none of the people on this board represent it. It's the Ashland Greenwood School District. And was told, oh, there's a lot of mistakes on that. None of the numbers are right. Does that make any sense to anybody here? These numbers aren't right, but a 44% increase. And I realize this is not supposed to be a question and answer, but I'd like somebody to give me the name and phone number of the people I can talk to, because $2,000 increase, I'm retired on a fixed income. This is nuts. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's other people.
Sir, I'd recommend, with you talking about Ashland Greenwood,
Correct.
I'd call the Ashland Greenwood Public Schools. And there should be,
I did that.
there should be a hearing just like this.
I know it. It's going to be in.
I'd recommend going that route.
Well, I'm going to go that route, but when I called the number that's on this sheet, the two people I talked to, I don't know what you're talking about. Who put her name on this sheet? She didn't know how the phone number got on here. I'm going to use some initials. This is BS. I understand you have to have an increase. You know, cost goes up. Everybody knows we're running at almost 10% inflation. But this is 44%. In the revenue, if you're Ashland, from where I'm at, there's a huge housing development out there. Probably, I'm going to guess 400 to maybe 450 houses. This is all upscale stuff out there. I'm talking $750 to $1 million. There's a lot of property tax revenue generated there. And they still need 44% more? They're expensive. I mean, the revenue generated by this new construction in a small town like Ashland or in a county like Saunders, they're raising millions and millions of dollars off of new construction, and they want to raise it 44%. I want a list of people that can explain and justify these numbers. I mean, you guys did a great job of telling me, well, 10% this and so percent that, all the other stuff. And it's, you know, say a lot and you bury them with numbers and information. It doesn't make any sense. Explain to me why this is going up. Like I'm a fifth grader. Very simple. Explain it to me. Thank you.
Corey Doran. Corey is passing. Tan Tai. Pass. Terry Caddy.
I'm from the Eagle area. I'm basically generally going to address the Waverly school district. My increase on the pink card, and I've been also told that the numbers on the pink card are not correct. I'm not sure what they are. Nonetheless, we're seeing an increase. And my increase on the card was 18%. I thought for 1 year that was relatively excessive. We had a valuation increase. We're also asking for more tax money. The thing that the Waverly School District patrons need to realize, and Corey brought this up, we're probably 2, 3, 4 years away from a major bond issue. I don't know what it is. I'm sure that the schools talked about, thought about it. Nothing's been made public, but a massive bond issue because Eagle's getting tremendous growth. Waverly's had tremendous growth. We're going to need more buildings. We're going to get hit with another increase due to bonds. It's a given. I understand that. I'm accepting that. But like my dad said when I was growing up, you've got to live within your means. And I know that your costs are going up just like my costs are going up. But I'm going to say, which is not popular, but if a constituent of any school district looks at the percentage of labor cost that's grown administratively versus the teaching faculty, I think you will see a fantastic increase over the last 20 years of our administrative cost of the school system. So I think that should be analyzed. And finally, I'll just say, you need to live within our means because that's what we're trying to do as the public. Thank you.
Christina Campbell.
If someone doesn't want to speak, can they yield their time?
Good evening.
Sorry, no.
Good evening. My name is Christina Campbell. I'm a Northeast Lincoln resident, and I work for Senator Ben Hansen, who is the senator who brought this truth in taxation bill to the legislature. I'll keep it pretty short tonight. Just say a few words of thanks to Deputy County Clerk Beatty for putting this hearing on, and thank you to everyone who works in the clerk's office for showing up. Showing up is half the battle. I know it was probably very difficult with this being a new hearing and having a lot of details to figure out and clerical errors on the postcards, things like that. So thank you for sticking to it and putting this hearing on for us. I looked at the county website. I also saw detailed information about this hearing and the taxes that have been addressed, so that was nice to see as well. Thank you so much to the presenters that are here tonight for taking time out and coming here to give us information on how these budgets are going to be used and affecting us, and for representing the subdivision that you work for. I know coming to this hearing takes you away from your family time, but we do appreciate for making it tonight. This is the beginning of an open line of communication between the taxpayers and those setting the budget, and I really hope that you're listening. I don't think it's bad that we as taxpayers expect our property taxes to be used responsibly and put checks on the people who are doing it. It encourages us to get involved, be informed, have a voice, and say what we're thinking. And I think that every single person here is doing their part to be involved and informed and to create some sort of accountability for you. So please listen to them and really hear them. They are desperate. I am one of those. We are desperate. Thank you again for your time. I know you're busy.
Sarah Kenny.
Thank you for your time and thank you for being here. My husband and I came to this meeting. We live in the Waverly School District. Because we got the pink cards, we didn't realize that they were terribly wrong, so that's a bit distressing. But we thought, all right, assessed value goes up, then property taxes should go up accordingly, and ours went up significantly more than the assessed value. So we came to hear kind of how that all works out. And I think, Mr. Worrell, listening to your presentation, if I got this right, there are 2,150 students in the Waverly School District. You have a budget, you're asking for a budget of about $37 million. That means it costs about $17K to educate each kid. I realize kindergartners cost less per student than high school seniors, but I'd like to understand more about how it costs $17,000 per kid to educate in our school district. And I realize if I did the numbers again, and I may not have gotten them right, I think you're asking for about a 7.4% increase, and our property values have gone up about 4%. So I just like to understand how that differential can be, because as other folks have said, we all have to learn to live within our means, and I think maybe the school district does too. So maybe I got the numbers wrong, but maybe I'll show up on Monday and we'll understand $17,000 per kid. Thank you very much.
Joe Fry or Joe Frey.
Good evening. My name is Joe Fry. I'm a business owner and the chair of the Lincoln Independent Business Association Board of Directors. Libra represents 1,000 businesses and business owners, most of whom operate and live here in Lincoln and Lancaster County. Over the years, Libra has had a good relationship with graduates and students from SCC. Last year, we partnered with the Career Academy to host a job fair for students where over 100 students received jobs to earn valuable experience in their chosen fields. Several Libra members are strong supporters of SCC, and we believe SCC fills a need for the business community by producing graduates who are ready to enter the workforce and work. I'm here to comment on the 18.72% operating budget increase proposed by Southeast Community College. This large increase currently seems out of touch with the stakeholders, the taxpayers of the Southeast Community College District. Over the past year, communities have been experiencing inflation not seen in over 40 years. At every turn, our business owners, employees have watched as prices for everything continue to rise. Groceries, gasoline, retail prices, utility costs, and there seems to be no end in sight. Many businesses are still struggling with supply chain issues. Meanwhile, political subdivisions such as SCC are increasing their budgets. With experiencing this rate of inflation in our everyday lives, we're not seeing wages increase at the same rate of how inflation is impacting our daily life. We cannot stand by and watch political subdivisions take advantage of the windfalls of the property valuation and then tell the public the tax rate has remained the same. This essentially tells the taxpayer the political subdivision is not concerned with the impact on the people of the 15 counties. As business owners, we must learn to make hard decisions to meet our payrolls and pay our bills. Yet, I must ask the question, is an increase of 18.72% in the operating budget really a sensible move at this time? Is taking the windfall of the increased property valuation in really the best interests of those who's elected to serve? I would ask you to seriously reconsider the message of the budget increase of 18.72% and what that does for the community. Furthermore, is taking an additional more than $8 million windfall with property tax valuation sending the right message? I would urge the board to reconsider the operating budget to be more in line with the current economy experienced by the stakeholders of the 15 counties served by SCC. Thank you.
Rhonda Hilker.
Hello. I speak in opposition to raising any property taxes at this point. My name is Rhonda Hilker. My husband Shane and I have property at 7951 Yellowknife Drive, Lincoln, Nebraska. And with the skyrocketing fuel and food costs, in addition to the soaring inflation, Nebraskans are struggling right now. I mean, everybody. I think I can speak for families are in crisis, and many are taking second jobs just to cover their everyday bills. When paychecks are being stretched beyond monthly expenses, this becomes a problem for Nebraskans. Expansive housing developments are going up everywhere. I mean, Firefox, Waterford, with each new house built garners additional tax revenue, and I urge you all to use that wisely, because with every house built, it brings in more taxes. And please stop placing this burden on Nebraska taxpayers. And I urge you to find alternative means if possible, and thanks for listening.
Jordan Spots.
Hi, my name is Jordan Spots. I'm a Lancaster County resident and also a property owner and investor. And I just wanted to, I guess, have a moment to address the group as an owner of many properties, and also some really great points were raised, by our attendees from the public this evening. Several of those being with wise use of funds. I think well documented the fact that we've had increases in all of the costs associated with cost of living, et cetera. However, I think this is a perfect example of the inappropriate use of funds. I received a single mailing, each individual for every property that we own, versus it could have been done on one sheet. So as we talk about ways of how are you going to address the cost burden, and this is every time I receive something in the mail from the treasurer's office. There's a separate mailing for every single property, and we look at, our answer is always to continue to raise the taxes, raise the levy, increase that. Ultimately, these costs are passed on to the tenants. And the cost of housing has been well documented in this continuing increase in this country, in this city. We as owners have no choice when we receive these. Either we bear the burden of those costs or we pass them on to our tenants. And out of all of these, there's more than 30 increases that came. What's been referenced here today is just our increase from last year to this year. That's not referencing the increase from 2 years ago, which was robust in Lancaster County. And now we're seeing increases happening above 8 to 9% in other counties as well. And this is representation specifically towards the Southeast Community College increases that we see. So I just wanted to reference that too, of the understanding of the pain that comes with these increases and not being fiscally responsible with the funds that we do have. The increases that we've had have been over the course of the past 2 years, and we're continuing to have increase over increase. And again, it's passed on to those that are living in those houses too. So thank you for the time.
Doug Bose. Not quite sure, Doug. I can't read the last name. Did I get it close?
That was close. Hi, I'm Doug Bose, and from Nebraska City, and I'd like some more detail about how the assessment was determined, since the value of my property went up by almost $50,000 in 1 year, and there's no new houses being built near our house. So what made the property worth so much more for the current year, or the current tax year, compared to last year? And I'd like to understand that justification for why the property is so much more valuable when there hasn't been any improvements made to it, and it's the same property as it was the year before, and it's worth a lot more now. And the taxes are proposed going up in double digits, more than 15%. And what have I accomplished for that? Or what do I get out of that other than higher taxes? And I don't see where and most of it's for the southeast stuff for I got on the pink slip. And it looked like the valuation went up some percent, and the increase in taxes went up to roughly the same amount. And I don't know if that's how it was calculated or not, but I'd sure like to see the calculations to review all that and how the assessment was made that my house is worth $50,000 more than it was last year. Thanks.
Chris Wood. Chris Wood? No, Chris is not here. Vincent Soshi? Yes. Cindy Golden? Yes. Robert Coxbill? Not here. Brianna Bodino?
Hi, I'm Brianna Baldino. I live in Cass County. Came with my husband tonight to do this. Thanks for holding this public hearing for us. Really appreciate you hearing our voices about it. So it's really funny. You hear so many politicians and leaders in our state say that they're going to work really hard to make Nebraska a place where, you know, families can grow and live and retire. And with Nebraska ranking among one of the highest taxed states in our nation, it's not hard to see why they're having a hard time always keeping that promise. Nebraska is consistently listed as a least tax-friendly for retirees state, with some of the highest property taxes, estate, and inheritance taxes. I'm here today to object to this proposed tax increase. Times are tough, and you're finding that the taxes you took from us aren't going as far as they used to. And the only solution you put forth is just to take more of our money. It must be nice to just take more when you need it. And that's what this is. Instead of your tax increase, the solution I'm proposing today is that you do what the rest of us Nebraska property owners are doing and learn to do without. That means you'll have to get creative, make sacrifices, and change your spending habits. Gas is high, electricity is high, grocery bills are high, my car insurance went up, college is more expensive than ever. We are all paying more for everything. And now, at a time like this, you want to take more money from us. I urge you to be leaders that understand economics. The more you tax a community, the worse it is for everyone, especially the poorest among us. I oppose all tax increases. Thank you.
Jeff Baudino?
I'm Jeff Baudino. I am from Cass County. It's a tough act to follow. So you guys have spent the last 20 minutes listening, 30 minutes listening to people who are extremely disappointed in your performance. You're asking for money from people without money. You're asking us to pay the burden for your terrible habits. I'm a business owner. I employ people. I spend all of my time trying to grow a business that actually does something of value. So you guys are saying, hey, we have these schools, they need more money. For what? Southeast Community College? You could send all those kids to me. I would pay them to do what you're doing, to teach them a trade. What have you guys been doing with all of our money? That's the question I have to ask here. I don't see a lot of value in it, right? I don't see better roads. I don't see smarter kids. I don't see brighter students. It's disgraceful. That's it.
Arlen Ermacher? Catherine Reck? Steve Driggs? Lance White?
Hello, my name is Lance White. I live in Lancaster County. Like Jordan, I got a big stack of those evaluations. I'm very disturbed that they aren't even accurate or correct and wonder why they're even sent out in the first place if they're not. It also bothers me, like everyone else, that we just got a massive valuation increase, which should mean an increase in taxes, which means an increase for your budgets without doing anything. And now you're asking for more taxes. And like everybody else here, you all put up in your budgets that all these things have increased. Well, guess what? It increased for all these people too. Okay, we're all trying to have a business. We're all trying to have a decent house. And I mean, I have a grievance that most of these people here don't. I sent my kids to a private school because I don't believe that the public schools are doing what they did when I was a kid. So not only did I not get the benefits of public school and the taxes, but I also had to pay for private school for my kids. And now they are out of school doing quite well, and I'm still paying property taxes for schools that I don't believe are functioning well. And I believe that taking this money over and over, and there's been a history of this, especially with Lincoln, how one year the value of our houses will go up, and then next year they'll ask for an increase, or they'll do a bond issue that follows up on that. So we're basically getting double taxed, and I think people are starting to catch on, and I would really appreciate, like some of the people said before us, that if everybody else is having such a tough time, we shouldn't be asking for any kind of tax increases for anything. And I appreciate y'all being here, and thank you.
Christina Usher.
Good evening, I'm Christina Usher. I'm a resident of Lancaster County. I'm here because I wanted to support this joint public hearing because each of you laid out your individual political subdivision's case for its tax increases. And they may seem reasonable in the silo of your own political subdivision. But tonight, you have to hear everyone else's increases as well. And that's what the taxpayer feels. I have 19 levy rates on my property taxes, 19 essentially political subdivisions or divisions thereof taxing me. So when one political subdivision says, oh gosh, it's not that much, we just need a little bit more, and then you add that up across the 19 different things that are taxing me, that's what really pinches the taxpayer. So I'm really glad that we're having this joint process so you all also can get out of your silos and hear what the individual taxpayer is having to feel. The second reason I'm here tonight is to try to help change the narrative. I like that at least in your presentations, you're showing what the levy rate would have been if your budget would have stayed. Because too often I hear that taxes weren't raised. Well, they were raised. You kept your levy rate the same and property taxes continued to go up and you got more money. And so I want that narrative to change so that you acknowledge that you are taking more taxes even though the levy rate stayed the same. And I would love to see the levy rate go down on occasion when your budget stays the same, because that rarely, if ever, happens. So again, I'm hoping this type of joint conversation will inspire you to do that. And thirdly, I think it's important that, and you're getting this an earful tonight, I know, an increased assessed value is an unrealized gain to the homeowner. That is not value in their pockets. That is not more money in their checking account. That is simply a market indication of what they might get if they one day sell. Most homeowners, thankfully, in our communities stick around for a long time. They're not going to see that gain in their pockets for years. And you need to feel, again, the pinch of trying to take tax money based on an assessed value that's unrealized to the taxpayer. So I'm happy tonight that you're all here and that we can jointly look at these increases that are impacting our taxpayers. Thank you.
Julie Condon.
Hi, can you hear me? My name is Julie Condon. I live in the middle of Lincoln. I oppose the proposed property tax increase by Southeast Community College. It is my understanding that most property here in Lancaster was not reassessed this year and had updated values been issued, a lot more of the tax increases would have been seen on the postcards. Mine personally had a 0% change, but that's not why I'm here tonight. So I wonder if the audience would have been bigger if that would have been done. I was fully expecting to see a decrease in my property taxes because my house is over 100 years old. I've lived here for almost 6 years now, and my property taxes have increased to the point that I've had to refinance my house to bring the payment back down to fit into my budget. I do not know how much you all make a year, but my budget doesn't allow for extra expenses like a bigger mortgage payment. I believe that when you do assess the rest of the property values, that is when you will receive more money, even though it would be nice to see the levy amount reduced instead. In 2022, the poverty rate here in Lincoln is 12.84%, according to World Population Review, which is up from 2019. In order for our economy to recover, we need to be able to keep more of our money so we can spend it on a few luxuries, such as getting to eat out once in a while or buying something new for ourselves or our family. You may say that our homes will be worth more due to the higher assessments, but for those of us who are not planning on selling and moving to another state due to the high property taxes, what are we supposed to do? I would think that there are many people who feel the same way as I do. The average property tax in Nebraska is 1.61%, which ranks among the 10 most burdensome states in the country, with some of our largest counties exceeding 2% per smartasset.com. We are driving people away from our state instead of drawing them here. What is causing Californians to leave? According to travelnest.com, the number one reason is rising state taxes. As the saying goes, it's always easier to spend someone else's money. I ask that you instead look for ways to reduce your budget, look at the classes, find the fluff, maybe work with UNL on things that are duplicates, and save the taxpayer some money so we can afford to continue to live here. Thank you for your time.
Jill Johnson.
Jill Johnson, Lancaster County. With all due respect, I'm very sorry that your school costs have gone up, but my income has not gone up. I resent this pity ploy as if I can do anything about it. I'm here to represent all the seniors in this area, in this district, that are living on Social Security. And I'm just the warm body that's here to represent us. I'm not in favor of this. This is supposed to be governing by with the consent of the people. I do not consent. I want to say that. And as far as expenses go, I'm a phonics tutor, and I get some of the fallout in the district. And I have 17 phonics books on Amazon.com. You can look them up under my name. They represent from pre-reading to kindergarten to all the way through 6th grade. They cover phonics rules, the logic of English. Anyway, that's not why I'm here. I'm just, I would like to help. If anybody would like my help, I think I could get the school costs lower, but I need to be asked. So, to reiterate, I do not consent. I just want to add this. My furnace went out. It's $30,000 to replace it. Winter's coming. My car has problems. My washer and dryer went out. I can do a pity party too.
Bolin Orton.
Bo Wharton, Lancaster County resident.
I'd like to start on a good note that full transparency, I have utilized SEC for several years since I've been a resident here in Lincoln. That being said, I don't know what else I can say other than echo what everybody else has brought to the table. My main concern coming up tonight is we just recently moved from Tennessee back to Lincoln, and no sooner check our mail for the second time in a week and get the pink slip, the card, whatever you call it. And first I'm concerned, but then I see the estimated value not increased. So then I start to look into it, and I don't have much prepared other than kind of just some tidbits I look, and it's all public information from the county website. I would say to note that in the last 5 years, and like I said, SEC being the political subdivision is my main concern, a 24.6% increase in the last 5 years for tax allocation. To me, that's a little absurd. I don't want to go so far as to say inappropriate allocation of funds. That is way above my pay grade. If you were to pick my brain and say, do I have any suggestions on how to assist that, I do not. Again, I'm not in a position to make those suggestions. I do say, again, echoing with everybody's school of thought, the timing is horrible. We're in an economic dumpster fire, to say the least, right now. Everybody is struggling in our nation, our community, our state. And so to get this and say, it's kind of disingenuous to, as a taxpayer, when an entity says, we realize you're struggling, we're struggling too, but we're going to have to ask for more money. I think the timing, again, is horrible. To take such an increase in the financial endeavors in order to, whatever the reasoning is, and I don't think there's any good reason at this point in order to take that kind of endeavor on. To tell your neighbor in Lincoln or Lancaster County that I support any increase in taxation, they'll tell you to get bent, because that's not reasonable by any means. So again, I just think the timing is horrible. I would obviously disapprove of any taxation anytime soon or increase in the levy rate. I feel like everybody is suffering. To say that a large entity that taxpayers keep afloat says that they're suffering also, I think is disingenuous. And I feel like you're trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip at this point, and we're all tapped out. Luckily, our home value, I mean, it says the increase change is zero. We're going to definitely pay the piper next year because we're doing lots of remodeling in the house. So I know the assessed value come the next time that number comes up, we're going to get raked over the coals over it. So I know we're escaping by, so I disapprove.
Jeannie Greaser.
It's Grace then, that's okay. I'm here as a Nebraska tax slave, and I'm opposing any increases in taxes. And so I've been around at a lot of places lately. So I think of return on investment, right? So going to the Nebraska Board of Education, talking about all this ESSER money that's raining out of the sky to all these businesses, the CARES, the ESSER 1, the ESSER 2, the ESSER 3. It looks like from ESSER 1, 2, and 3, Waverly got $1.433 million of government money. So where did it all go that you're coming to me that you want more taxes and more of my money? And that's only the Waverly district. We've got the LPS district that got many more millions than that. So you got to wonder, where's all that money going? So what someone said earlier, I was giving you guys the benefit of the doubt to educate a child at $12,000. A kid, 30 kids in a classroom is $360,000. A teacher gets paid $51,000. So where's the rest of that money going? There's plenty of money. So then let's talk about our return on investment. So the proficiency of the Nebraska education is English is 48%, math is 46%, and science is 50%. So I think we're failing. Money is not gonna give you what you're needing because you already have the money, and we're failing the kids. So we need to stop throwing money after it because that's not the solution. So then I look at SEC, you guys want money also. I live right by there, I drive by the Lincoln campus all the time. You guys put up new buildings, And there happens to be the State Farm building right across O Street that's sitting empty waiting to be rented. Wouldn't it be awesome to put a nice over walk path so you could have classrooms right over there than doing millions of dollars on a new building? My husband and I say that every time we drive by. You have the building there, it would be a great campus. Has anybody thought of that? And then the last thing, people talk about California being terrible. Let's talk about California Prop 13. Prop 13 says you could not assess a property greater than 1% of the value. And then if the same homeowner kept that house, it could never go above 2% that year until the property was sold. So California might have their property taxes better than Nebraska because you will never get a 15% increase on your property. For me to get the property increases that I'm getting here would have taken 30 years. I got 15% year after year after year. And they said, oh, it's going to be a one-time deal. It's never a one-time deal. And lastly, I'm going to add, because I'm going to run out of time, the only way that this solution is going to get fixed is to free the Nebraska tax slaves by voting in the EPIC tax bill that all of this stuff can end. Thank you.
Natalie Gunther.
Hi, I'm Natalie Gunther. I own my own technology consulting business. I want to first thank Senator Ben Hansen for putting this bill forward and passing it, because I've had many years where I've had an assessment increase and been very frustrated and felt very helpless that I can do nothing about it. And just knowing that these types of hearings are very valuable to the community, hopefully to you guys as well, because without them, we're all grumbling and it has impact on our day-to-day lives and frustration. So getting at transparency, sunlight disinfects, as one of my old bosses used to say. So I appreciate your guys' time. I am primarily concerned with the SEC budget. I don't think it was clear on the presentation that your budget is going from $293 million to $351 million. So for people to know, that is almost a $60 million increase in 1 year, which is 20%. That's just absurd to me, as many people have said, and the timing, but even without timing, your enrollment has been down since 2013, 4%. So while the slide shows an increase in the last fall, the overall average is also still down on average 1% from 2013. I had a colleague that had one of these nice pink cards, and their increase was 100%. So the gentleman earlier had 44%. People are just seeing these increases. It's massive. It was $600 and went up to $1,300. I called SEC to talk to about it, and the gentleman told me, when he answered and I asked him a bunch of questions, he was very nice but not very helpful. He said, if yours is 0, just go ahead and throw that away. You don't have to worry about it. Which bothered me, because there's a lot of people who then probably did throw it away, and while theirs didn't increase, again with SEC, the surrounding 15 counties is increasing, yet they're the ones that are probably seeing the least benefit from SEC. Lincoln has a great campus with SEC. I've taken classes. I love SEC, but the increase is way too much. The other thing I wanted to address is in 2017, the SEC board, they'd put out a bond issue and it was voted down, but in the immediate year following, they voted to increase their taxes to get that money anyway, which is very disappointing, because again, like, you guys are citizens, right? When you make your voice heard and you're telling people, hey, that's not what we want to use our money for, we have to get creative. We have to figure those things out, right? I'm a technology person. Technology is teaching our kids math. Like, what about changing how we do our math and having our kids self-learning and progressing and retrieving these certificates and badges with applications, but having a guide and mentor along the way. Just, there are things out there, and we would love to be participating in how to make those things happen. I just want to also say, please be prepared for changes. I don't think the economy is at its lowest. So as you guys think about this, I'm asking, hopefully you don't increase, but also to prepare for, gas prices to increase after elections.
Mitzi Graham.
Hi, I'm Mitzi Graham. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, but I wanted to comment on all of the tax increases for everybody in Nebraska. Since in the last couple of years, my assessed value have increased 33.9%. That's an increase of 33.9% in my property taxes. That you have had a windfall because of these inflated property values that have come around. And you guys have benefited from that. And yet today you still come here and ask us for more money. I've had to cut my budget. I've not had a 33% increase in wages. I've had to cut my budget. It's put a financial strain on my household. And I just believe that you guys, by coming here tonight, are hurting this community. Not just me, you're hurting the whole community. And I think you need to stop it. We pay enough property taxes. I was a clerk administrator for a small town. You can make your budget work. You can write for grants. There's a ton of things that you guys could be doing. And you're not doing it. You just come with your hands out. And we're tapped out. We're done. And I'm actually about done with Nebraska. I'm sick of the property taxes. And I think you're driving out a lot of the younger kids. You say 91% of them stay here, but for how long? They can't afford a house. So enough is enough. I beg you to stop.
Jennifer Hicks.
My name is Jennifer Hicks. I live in Nemaha County in Peru, and I received this. It says I have an estimated increase of 0, but I drove over an hour to get here because I want to plead with you to please listen to these people. That the main thing you need to know is you're going to have to do more with less because everybody's having to do that, and that's what everybody said to you tonight. There's really not anything else to say. It's going to take sacrifice. Everybody's having to sacrifice. Do more with less. That's it.
The last name on the list for the evening is Mark Freoff. Pronounce that right, Mark? Freoff?
Yes. Hi, I didn't come prepared to really speak, but I decided to. I agree with everybody else before me. I'm a new homeowner. I didn't get an increase of evaluation this year, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time. Goodness gracious. The thing I just cannot see how you guys get away with every time here is the rate stays the same, everybody. SCC's levy is 9.37. It was 9.37 before. Then you justify why you needed that increase. And then it just so happens that your budget just happened to fit perfectly into that 4%. I mean, do we seem stupid to you? This happens every time you guys you guys take the juicy evaluation increases, you leave the levy the same, and then you justify why you needed those increases after the fact. It's kind of like you're shaving a square peg into a round hole. And I mean, for once, could you please just actually figure out what you actually need? And then if that's actually lower, there was only one school here, Raymond, I think is 0.2% lower. There's a pattern here, everybody. SCC, Raymond, Waverly, all, well, I might be misquoting Waverly, all took their increases. Nobody decided to lower their levy other than Raymond, which went down 1 penny, a little bit. Okay, are we stupid here? I see a pattern quite clearly. Let's just take the increases, let's justify it after the fact. Good Lord. So anyway, I agree with everybody before me. This is just ridiculous. You guys should be learning to cut back and do with less. SCC has other sources of income other than property taxes. You get a state allocation, for goodness sakes. You don't need to take the full 4%. My goodness, let's see. SCC just in the past 5 years, I was kind of going through the numbers quickly here, at least 4% every year. Between 2018 and 2019, 12%. Wow. And that's raw numbers. That's not confusing things between levies and evaluations. So anyway, I find it incredible that you guys do this every time. You just take those juicy increases and then you just say, you know, we absolutely need it. We justify it after the fact. And we're just supposed to go, oh, okay, we understand. Yeah, you probably needed exactly that amount that the increase was. Thank you.
Is there anyone else present tonight wishing to testify who did not previously speak? Anyone?
I would like to add something.
You already had your 3 minutes.
That's not the spirit of the LB644. It says reasonable. I don't feel 3 minutes is reasonable for a 25% tax increase. Right. I'm not going to be up there an hour, but give me another 3 minutes.
Move to allow him to present.
I second it. Third.
It's not my call.
Hang on. Good evening. I think we decided up front that based on the number of people that decided to testify, we would limit each speaker to 3 minutes. There's not a body that's convened to make motions to extend time or grant any additional time, so it's just not permissible. The gentleman did have the time to speak at his first chance.
That's not correct according to Nebraska public speaking statute that was enacted some years ago. There is no time limit stated in that statute. That decision was arbitrary and not your decision alone.
20 people gave up their time. I don't think it's going to hurt us.
Is it okay? Because I've got more to say as a private citizen, because I spoke with a representative of my job.
The problem is, sir, if you get any additional time.
It's not working here.
The problem is if this gentleman gets more time, then there's going to be other people.
Tax out of our homes, and we need accountability.
I understand that.
We
ma'am,
do.
That people feel that way.
This is
but
ridiculous.
People feel that way.
Wait. So I would like it put in record that you're refusing reasonable time, which would invalidate this request. Specifically, according to LB 944, by refusing reasonable time, you are invalidating this request.
Sir, we just said up front the time that people have, and if we give you more time, then other people can reasonably say, this gentleman had more time, I want more time. We set it up front, you had the 3 minutes that were provided. Perhaps people will stay after the meeting, I can't say for sure. But based on the number of people that testified and everyone's constraints with getting home and all the time that you've traveled, it's fair to do the 3 minutes. And
What about the 20 people that gave up their time?
We can't adjust it after the fact. That's just the
Okay,
procedure.
well, we'll make sure that's written into the legislation next year, that there's no time limit. Thank you.
Yeah, I do want it reflected in the notes that the request for reasonable time was refused, which is stated in LB 644. It does not specify a time limit, and your time limit of 3 minutes was arbitrary, given all the people's time that are here today.
The clerk may record that in the minutes. Thank you.
May or will?
I don't know. I'm not the clerk, ma'am.
Okay, all right. We will call this meeting adjourned, and we appreciate everybody coming out tonight.